come to fruition, and we couldn't do anything until we sold the sewer system, because we had no way to fund it, so why start spending money? But anyways, you know, I don't think we can have it both ways. We have, you know, we have this cell phone tower there, it shows we can build an open space. The process is not clear though. I still think we need to parcel some of this thing off. And you gotta understand, this may only take up 10% of that whole property. It's not like we're building 10 acres, 35 acres. What do we say, 1.6, so call it 3 acres. It's not that big. And it's gonna save the taxpayers tons of money, because we don't have to go out and buy a piece of property. I don't even know if there's a piece of property we can build, or we can buy. So, anyways.
I don't think we're gonna be saving the taxpayers any money, because we're gonna be spending a boatload on court cases.
Yes, there you go.
Very good.
Good point, and.
Thank you.
No, but we're the ones who are getting sued, so we have to defend the taxpayers. Okay, we are obligated.
It could have been solved with a public meeting.
So why
Why
didn't you recommend it?
I did.
When?
I've said it many times to everybody. I didn't say it in a meeting, I expected us to have a meeting.
Trace, did she ask you for a public hearing on this at any time, even prior to my being on commissioner?
No.
Oh,
You guys do?
Yes, there was, and you know there was, Trace, you know, I've said it, when are we having a public meeting? And then I was waiting for it to be scheduled, and then you dropped the resolution. Now, you can say what you want, we're never gonna agree on this, we are never gonna agree on this. A public meeting was necessary. You don't a public meeting was necessary, and I did say it many times.
I would agree with it if you said it, I wouldn't, why not?
Well, Don, you have to ask. Isn't that what I was told?
Yeah, did you ask? You didn't ask. Okay, I'm
You
sorry.
didn't ask me.
I don't think so. Anyways.
So again, the practical reasons were, and we're all in agreement, I believe that we need to have a new building. Are we not in agreement with that?
Yes.
How about I do?
Okay. And then I believe what we were doing with the architect and the engineers, they worked together finalizing the last piece, and then the commission will get an information on where we're at, see what that looks like. Right now, mostly staff making their adjustment to it, but for the item did pass, and we're moving forward with that. And just to remind everybody, when you look at the ground on here, it was a central location, it was big enough, easily accessible. The least disturbance to the residents, because if we would have used anything over encroachment upon other place by putting the building, it just wouldn't fit up there, and that was one of the final ones that we had up there. And then the ground was actually suitable from an engineering standpoint. Hank, did you have someone to add?
Well, I'm a common sense person. I make my decisions on common sense, and when I looked at this, realizing we do need a new building, the cost to renovate both the township building and the public works police building would be about 30% more than building the building. My concern was, can we build at the selected location? And I was told, yes, we legally can build there, we can build. So that made sense. It just financially, the location, the benefits for the township residents of building there, it just all makes sense then. That's the location I would have chosen.
And the primary one is, as we talked about when we did pass this in April, was the cost benefit of using our own ground, and that's when we started searching right after we got the approval, and then to actually finalize it after the proceeds came in. So does anybody else have anything to add for that piece? Just kind of overview it, just the commissioners can discuss a little bit. It seems like we didn't make any ground at all on that discussion.
Well, being new to this, I think in hindsight, I think we should have had a building committee. But that's behind us now. I think we made a commitment. We should move forward.
With the site we selected.
Big mistake.
With the site we selected. Okay, if,
Can I just ask one question? Can we move forward on that site right now?
Yeah.
We can build, we can break ground.
We
Is
don't
that
have-
recommended?
We don't have final design yet, we're getting there.
But was that recommended by our solicitor? What problems are we gonna create if we break ground for the building?
Are you asking the solicitor?
Yes?
Well, obviously, in the course of litigation, and a party is opposing that. You can.
Could
have
you
the
speak
right-
up a little bit?
Can't hear you.
Is that on your mic?
Really? Can't hear me?
Yeah, you're sticking up.
Can't hear anybody. Unless the other attorney representing the other party was wanted to come out here and openly discuss their strategy, which they are not, I wouldn't wanna say anything would create a disadvantage for the litigant, which is my client. Obviously, there doesn't appear that they lost their attempt at an injunction, so certainly there are risks, but there is no standing impediment which would stop you from going forward at this time, other than the inherent risks of litigation. But that's really all I'm gonna say on litigation, wouldn't be fair or ethical to say anything further.
Okay, so if we build and we lose the case, what happens?
Can't tell you that.
Kathy, just, this is a question, the general question you're asking, the solicitor really can't comment on the case. Now, as a commissioner, I could comment on a case, which I think I did, you know, the case is so weak, I doubt it even makes it to trial. But, you know, there is going to be, we have to go through the process, we're on a train, as my other lawyer explained to me, you're on a train, you have to go through all the stops. Even though this case borderlines, I don't know, it's just so poor. If our counsel is able to show that this case really had no merit from the beginning, I hope they can cover some of our costs from the plaintiffs. That's how bad I think this case is gonna be. I know there's a standard to do that, but nevertheless, Trace, I think we beat the building issue to death. You know, the thought was to try to get some facts out there to the public, and, you know, you still can decide. I'm sure people aren't gonna change their mind, but, you know, I think you've done a due diligence. And Trace, I would like to go into a second discussion, since this is this an open discussion right now? I'd like to go into a second discussion, if possible. And I apologize for taking up the airtime, but some things have been bothering me. Obviously, we have a split board of commissioners here, and I don't know how, you know, most people think it's because of the building project. In my opinion, it's nothing to do with the building project. We were all on the same page for a very long time on a lot of issues, and where we had some distance between us, we worked out. Again, we were all in agreement on the building and the building site location, as we said. We all voted 5-0 to hire the current engineer to start designing the site at the Samola farm. We voted, it's in the record, I believe, 5-0. You know, I don't think there's any disagreement on that, but, you know, all of a sudden, boom, like a light switch went off. 2 commissioners are not supporting the project, and I really wanted to try to understand why. You know, it seems like they do not support it, as Kathy stated, because, you know, we did not have a hearing in the project. Yeah, maybe, you know, Kathy, you said we blew it, you know. If that was the case, you should have suggested it, as we said. You know, you were vice president of this, and I think you could have handled it differently, but, you know, that's done. And just an FYI, we sent letters out to every resident about this building, and,
No, you didn't.
well, then you didn't get your mail, okay? Anyways, here's my point. Here's my point.
Can you show us a copy of the letter?
quiet please,
Yeah, we'd like a copy
quiet
of the
please.
letter.
I don't think this board is split, you know, on any building issue past or present. As many of you know very well, I mean, maybe you don't know very well, we are in a nasty litigation with some developers. Hank Trace and myself ran on the promise that we would address overdevelopment. In fact, all the commissioners helped us with that campaign. The litigation is very complicated, and to date, our solicitor really had to explain to me 3 times where we are and how that case is coming out. We were cautioned about proper communications and any actions we took as individuals or as a board with this case, as any good lawyer would tell their clients. All of a sudden, Trace, I remember the day you called me and you discovered that Kathy and Dave had set up a meeting with the developers, and did not even notify the board, or notify me, or any solicitors.
Let me answer that, Don.
Sure.
First of all, there was no meeting set up. I said I wanted to meet with them on the advice from our solicitor.
Okay, well,
For a year and a half of advice from our solicitor.
Well,
That's why I went to meet with them.
well,
And there was never a meeting set up. I talked to our township manager also about this, and then I called Trace up. And that's when I got called a backstabber, and that's when our relationship fell apart.
Okay.
Okay, Don? Let's all tell the truth.
okay, well, then you intended to meet with the developers, but, after we were warned, be very careful. I mean, these developers will get you in a meeting, you could say, hey, good afternoon, and they're gonna take that as, hey, good, good, they approved our project.
I get that point.
And, I'm sorry, Trace either stopped the meeting or prevented it from being scheduled, and that's, I think, when the crap hit the fan. I even had the tax collector on my porch complaining about Trace about that. And it's all recorded in a Ring doorbell, and it's the most bizarre thing you ever seen. I was willing, and I was willing to let that be a bad day in history. And I am willing to let that be a bad day in history. But the last time we were convened, Kathy, you had brought up some concerns about all this litigation costs, and that was there a way to settle this? And I asked you directly, are you asking to settle with these developers and give them another phase? And I'm gonna stop right there, because, Mr. President, I would like to discuss this in executive session and clarify that. But, you people in Summer Grove, you better hear this. It's, we could be going down the wrong road. I think we've won with these developers, and I don't wanna, take, defeat in the jaws of victory at this point anyways. I mean, you guys haven't met with the developers, correct?
No, never.
I didn't think so.
All we wanted to do was do what the solicitor advised us to do, because we're not bargaining in good faith, and that's a mark against us. It's just no, 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 no. And we were told, and it's true, we have the right to do that. We don't have to ask permission. We're 5 equals here. If I wanted to hear what they had to say, I could go. But obviously you don't think I'm savvy enough to do what I wanted to do, was just sit there and listen and meet them and be pleasant about it.
Kathy, no one's savvy enough to meet with these guys. I've met
Oh, I
with
get it,
these
Bob.
in another job I'm at, and they twist every word that you do. Trust me. Anyways, thank you, Trace.
Any more? Public comments, please remember the instructions I gave you at the beginning. Please come up.